nervous, wasn't sure if I was like ready for the little people, and I was. But we always want perfection, and we suffer with that. and in the process, I thought, I'll get up early and put my notes on the laptop. But because I didn't sleep, you're going to hear me scroll to some pages from my own notes. Yeah. And I've been teaching, I think, for the past 3 months or more, the paramis, and I forget what I thought last month, but today is truthfulness. And so in the Theravāda tradition, we have the invitation to practice and develop, to perfection if we can, the paramis that helps us to be awakened, to live a more joyful and peaceful life. And these perfections or practices, from the heart, from the mind. I haven't been teaching them in order. There's 10 of them. I've been just kind of like randomly whatever I'm working with or feel called. And they don't have to be actually practiced in order, because the opportunity to practice, it's in everything we do, we say, in everything, in everyday life. So it's like life is not linear either. But there is some connection. So maybe next year I'll start again from 1 to 10. Because and I say maybe I'll do that, because when we study them, when we practice them, it really is not always the same way. I mean, like one time, I know one of the ones that I thought about 3 or 4 months was energy, viriya, and like many years ago, I was into biking, and so I feel inspired to observe viriya energy in my physical activities, right? And the last time that I thought it here was more in the energy that we bring when we sit. So just so you know that, so that the 10 paramis are generosity, morality, and I'll say them in English now and later in the Pali language. Renunciation, insight, energy, patience. 7th is truthfulness, resolution, loving kindness, and equanimity. So in the Pali language is dāna. We practice a lot, and you have the opportunity to practice as you walk in with the sign there. Sīla, nekhamma, insight, pañña, energy, viriya, patience, khanti, and sacca is for truthfulness, adhiṭṭhāna, metta, and upekkhā. If any of you have been on the Spirit Rock, has anybody gone to Spirit Rock and do a retreat over there? No? Yeah. The dorms, I don't know they're called wrong, but the place where you sleep, the buildings, they all have one of the names. So when I first was like, what is upekkhā? Upekkhā. And then when I realized what it was, like, oh, I want to sleep in pañña and inside. Like, no, you don't get to choose. But anyway, so it's good to practice, right? And we talk about the dharma. When we're talking about the dharma, it's really actually practicing truth, practicing with things as they are. As I was inviting you here to sit and just watch the body sitting, watch, with full honesty, without putting any colors like, oh, my pants are too tight, or I'm overweight, or I'm like too distracted. Just sit with whatever it is, and just watch it as it is, without hoping that the mind doesn't get distracted. The mind is busy, and that's just what it is. And that's the full honesty. As at this moment, the mind is distracted. It's truth what it is. At this moment, I'm doing the best that I can, and that's what it is. So when we talk about practicing, is that it's knowing the truth of this moment. We talk about the dharma. It's really the truth of what it is, and as we practice, we start peeling all these layers and start seeing all these like all the BS, all the habits that we have on what we think is truth. And sometimes we become more curious and start like questioning. Really, am I really sitting here and breathing? Who's breathing here? And sometimes in the process, we discover that the more we sit, we become aware of different patterns and habits that the mind has. And sorry, I was hearing some echo. I wasn't sure if I had turned off the media. That we have these habits that we have developed as we grow. And I was saying earlier that when I was sitting with the little people, with the children earlier, like some of them were really honest, like, I think they were like, I would say between 6 and 8, like they were really just saying it as it was, and that's I think why I was so afraid in the morning, like, can I take the truth of these kids? Because I know they'll tell it, they'll say it as it is, as they feel it, right? But the older was a little bit more like, they think a little bit more before they give their opinion, because they manicure the truth, right? With the risk for because you're conscious that people is listening, because you want to say it right, you want to be perfect, so we begin to develop those habits since we're little, since our parents tell us, hush, that's not how you say it, and start correcting us, right? And so as we practice, we start seeing that, those habits. And so to practice, to really practice and understand the Dharma, it begins by learning to be truthful with ourselves, to be really honest and own, our blind spots, or BS. I would say BS for blind spot, not for bullshit. But to be honest, to realize how difficult it is to change that, and how we become reactive, and to question, where did I learn this, without really judging us, but just where did I learn this? How long have I been carrying this? And sometimes we may see and realize that, how difficult it is to live life, or how difficult life it is. And with practice, we accept that with full honesty, that it's not easy. But then we also practice to see, how can I reduce the suffering? And other times, we may be able to recognize and see that happiness is within us. But we may find that it's difficult to figure out, how can I live with this happiness that is already within me, that I have everything that I need to be happy. And so like I was saying, that each of these paramis can be taught and explained in different ways. Sometimes we talk about speaking with honesty, or using the right words. And I was thinking about my own BS and other people's BS the other day. It's and sometimes we're confused with these stories that we create And we choose to stay sometimes in those stories because it's familiar and because it's easier to be in the sea of suffering or in the sea of blaming others. Just easier, that's more familiar than questioning ourselves. I got a ticket. I got it a while ago, but I kept postponing it. I kept asking for an extension. And this was in Culver City, so watch out when you're driving Culver City. I was coming from a day long in the Santa Monica Mountains, and the traffic was a little bad, and I didn't realize, that I was sick, that I actually had COVID. But I wasn't feeling well, and so I pulled off the freeway because it was a lot of traffic, and it was like the sunset over, so the sun was I was just very uncomfortable. And I didn't know until later on that it was cold what I had. But anyway, so I got a ticket for turning on a red light. And yeah, I postponed it like 2 or 3 times. I think you can postpone the course, right? And I was postponing because at some point I thought, I'll just go over there and figure out really, like, was I supposed to wait for a green light, or is it illegal to turn in that corner with a red light or not? Because I just couldn't believe it. And it was a camera, right? It was a camera picture, and I would see the picture, and I would see like my eyes like this winking because the sun was on me, and then I kept like looking on the GPS to see in that corner if there was a sign that you couldn't turn. But because it was so far, I kept postponing to go there and check it out on myself, because it was part of me was like, no, that's wrong. That computer was wrong. Like, no. And then more time gaining and trying to like Google, how can I get away from it? And make a story so that I don't have to like pay the fine. And until finally I couldn't extend it anymore, and I had to face the reality. I get there, right? And I get there really early before my time because I wanted to hear what excuses other people had. And I'm sitting there, it's like, oh my God, this is such a PS. Like, I should be so embarrassed that I want to create a story. I can just own it. But then I'm like, there's a part of me that, just creating this story. But there was no sign. I didn't see a sign. And then the other part of me saying, but you were so sick, like maybe you didn't see the sign. And the sun was on your eyes, like your eyes were closed even when they took the picture. So it's all these stories, right? And then I start feeling like sympathy for the judge, because you could hear all these stories that people is creating for their, and then like they really believe these stories, these people, the stories that they're giving to get away from the ticket, right? And I said like, no, I'm just gonna own it. And I had no choice. I couldn't say, I don't know. It was yes, guilty or no guilty. I said, right? And I said, well, okay, I'm guilty, but I really don't think that I'm guilty. But I couldn't say that, but in my head. And so anyway, I asked for traffic school, and then I was still not convinced and went back to check if there was a sign or not. But that's how we operate. And there's just like so much suffering. Like for months I postponed it, and then like I'm suffering because I don't want to accept, the truth that I made a mistake. And like creating all these stories and hearing everybody just like creating, and how hard it is to maintain those stories, even if we believe them, right? Even if we believe them. And so when we talk about sacca, when we talk about truthfulness, it starts here. Because the stories, the lies that we create, really like they actually spread out and then contaminate other people. I felt that judge is like she had to sit there for hours, all day, listening to all these stories. Like, oh my God, and she had to just like, okay, pay the fine. And for a while, it was like, what moves her? What would make her change her mind? But, I was like, wow, like she knows all these stories that people create, like every day. But, we believe that. We believe that we're innocent, or there was a mistake on the computer or the camera. And so you know, the veil of deception can be so deceiving, right? And it can just like drags us into that darkness, into that mystery. When sometimes it is lighter to hold the truth, but it is a lot more work, because then we have to like peel the layers and question. And that's the work. That's the actual work. And the Buddha thought about two kinds of truth. The conventional and the ultimate truth. And you know, good thing for science, right? It gives a lot of the conventional truth, but does not reduce suffering. Like we know so much now, more than our ancestors, more than our grandparents. We have a lot more information. We have now more people have more access to these teachings than other generations, right? We know now that the trauma is held in the body, and it's transmitted to our children, to the next generations, and that they carry that information. We know that now. And we have more information on how to heal that trauma. I'm not saying that it's easy, but we have access to that information. Before, that was new. So science, you know, all of that gives a lot of information. But in order to heal the trauma that exists in the body, right? In order to heal those habits of just creating like all these stories to convince us that we are right or wrong, like we need to actually do the work to practice and to come face to face with these stories that we have learned, these habits that we have learned to cover the truth. And conventional truth is like, you know, we have a thermometer that would tell us it's 80 degrees or 70 degrees, right? And you may feel like, oh, it's perfect. It's not hot, it's perfect, but I may be going through my menopause, and for me, I'm like sweating, it's hot. So my reality is like, yeah, I am hot. But the conventional reality, 70 is not that bad. But my reality is like, I'm going through changes in my hormones, and I'm like sweating and hot. And then we have, you know, this conventional, it's 100 degrees. Oh, sure, it's hot. Doesn't matter, everybody's hot. That's true. That's it, right? The ultimate truth is that insight that comes with practice. That's the best one. That's the one that requires more work that you know, science can guide you and tell you, look, your body's giving you information, your body's telling you you need something, you need healing. But the actual work comes from us. Even if you take a pill to alleviate any suffering that you have, that's just temporary. Right? The work that comes within us, and that work really, that insight, that wisdom, comes from questioning, from inquiring. Like I'm sitting here, breathing. Okay, the body's breathing. The mind is going to the past. Oh, okay, that's a message, but right now I'm here. The mind is preoccupied with something in the future. It's just information. It's information that is coming. Oh, okay, there's something that continues to repeat from my past. Let me look into it when I'm not sitting. There's a concern about something that I need to do in the future. Okay, well, right now I'm sitting. Later, let me figure out what is this? What is that? And then we have some information to figure out what is it that we need to be happier, to reduce the suffering, to be honest with ourselves and with others too. And you know, sometimes it could be a little bit intimidating, I think, because we realize, why did I learn this? It's like me, like going to the course, like really, like I've been practicing so long, I'm so embarrassed to like wanted to create and make a story. And I just kind of had to embrace, wow, even to these days, I think I can get away. And I probably could have, you never know. I probably would have continued Googling and write the right answer, but does that make me happy? Maybe for that moment, but the habit of creating the stories doesn't change. So I had to just kind of own, like, it feels embarrassed to be trying to figure out how to lie, and like, okay, I still more work to do. Let me reflect more on the truth of my driving and the truth. Welcome. So, yeah, it's an ongoing practice. Where, every day we have the opportunity to question, where did I learn these ideas? How can I investigate if these thoughts and beliefs that I have are truth, are what I need to be honest and to be happy. And so I congratulate you because you came here and have come face to face with the reality of this moment. So that takes a lot of courage. So I'm going to pass if you have any doubts about your own truth or about mine, or any other questions that don't have anything to do with the paramis or sacca, truthfulness.
Was there a sign? Did you go back to see?
I did, but then I forgot which corner it was. And I went back this last week again. Now I went back this last week again nearby, and I didn't see a sign there. I'm still curious. Not on that one, because I can't remember which corner it was, but it's just crazy, because the GPS, the instructions that I could follow the path that I was following there, and I kept Googling, is there a sign here? Can you make a right turn? I couldn't get it. So I'm not sure, but I still believe there's a part of me and that I want to go back, but it's so far that I want to go back because I still believe that the computer was wrong and that I didn't. And that's the suffering, it's like so crazy that I already did school. It's not even on my record anymore, but I want to be right. I don't know where I learned to be right. I want to be perfect. Like today, the little people, they took my sleep because I wanted to do it right for them. I'm not perfect.